Welcome to the Tuck Shop Podcast, everybody. Welcome to another great week here at UPJ. Spring break is over, so those of you who remember spring break and that horrible time between spring break and graduation, or the last day of school and summer break, this is that dark period where we all have to try to go through the motions. Got a great episode today I'm real excited about. But before we do, I want to sort of remind everyone, the big thing we have coming up, to keep an eye on the social media, is the alumni UPJ night at the Tomahawks. The schedule is out there, April 5th. So get your tickets. That is very big. It'll be in the description of the podcast below. Today is a really interesting episode. Don't have David. He'll be back next week. But I do have a room full of very scared-looking people. From Professor Glenn's. This is a marketing class?
Marketing capstone.
Yeah, so this is marketing capstone project.
Yes.
What does that mean? First off, who do I have with me today so far in the mic? Introduce yourselves.
My name is Maddie Ankeny. I'm a senior. I'm a marketing major.
I'm Ethan Webb. I'm also a marketing senior.
My name is Justin Briscoe. I'm also a marketing senior.
All right. We're here today because you're actually, as a class, came to ask for help from the alumni. You have a project, but before we talk about the project, what does the class do? Before we talk about what we need help with, what is the class? What is the project?
So this is like the capstone for marketing. So this is like the last course that we take before we graduate. And basically we have a client and we work with them and we create like a whole marketing. Basically we have to pitch it. We have to do all of the background research for it and everything. We have a couple presentations throughout the semester, but it's just like our final class.
So this is it for everybody then. So this is the really dark time trying to get to the last couple of weeks to the end of the term. What did the project, who's the client?
His name is Dave, right? Dave, the owner of the Galleria.
That's fine. Yeah, so the new ownership of the mall, the local mall.
Yeah.
And what does the project entail?
So we're trying to build a co-working space through UPJ for the mall. So we're looking for clients that are sort of remote entrepreneurs that are looking for that space they can work from, and it not be either their corporate location or from their house. So they're just looking for like a little getaway to do their work at.
Okay, I kind of understand. So you can kind of have an office someplace else.
Yeah. Sort of get away from the noise.
And was that something that you all selected or was presented as, hey, we need help with this?
Presented.
Okay.
Yep.
What's that process like when you hear that? Because I'm assuming no one knew what this project was when you registered for this course. You didn't know that.
No.
Did anyone have any different expectations?
I believe the previous class, so like the fall semester marketing class, they worked on this project as well. So they kind of did some of the first work. So I think we all kind of have some friends that were in there. So we were kind of aware of that. But it definitely was new because we kind of decided that it was going to go into the Galleria. So then because of that, obviously we kind of had to work on it and kind of definitely be creative with what we could do.
So what does the project entail? Like, is it simply... let me look at the market. Is there a need for it? How do we promote it? Do you have to design things? Is it all the above?
It's like all the above. So we look at like other co-working spaces, whether that be in like different states or just in the Pittsburgh area. And then we kind of like mirror what they do. And then we could use that for our co-working space here. And then for like clientele, we were thinking about more alumni so they have a stronger connection to the school. So they would be more inclined to come back to the co-working space and kind of support. But it's kind of a little bit of everything, and we do a little bit of design that's coming up with our big idea. And Skip was referring to like a design process, whether that be how we want to structure it, like if we want to do more office or like more private space areas. So it's a little bit of everything.
Did anything surprise you when you started looking at these other places? Because it has to be a scale difference, looking Johnstown versus, and you mentioned Pittsburgh, so it's certainly a size population difference. Did anything kind of say, oh, that's going to work great, that's something we may not be able to pull together, or did it all kind of click?
I would say looking at different co-working spaces, like the ones that are the most unique, the ones that stand out the most, are the ones that utilize their environment. I did a case study on one in Texas, and they use their environment really well. And I feel like that's something we can incorporate in the Johnstown market, like the steel mill.
Off desks around like cattle farms and stuff.
It was like more oaky, more woody, like lots of browns.
Okay.
And they had good earthy tones. So I feel like we could utilize something like that here with like the old steel mill kind of aesthetic.
That's a neat idea. Anything stand out to either of you? Kind of different? Let me ask you this way. Let me ask it this way. For the class, did everyone have their own individual area that they were responsible for researching? Or was it a group projects or?
It was more of a group project. I think maybe both groups divided it up differently. But our group, I think, now that we've walked the space and everything, now we're sort of dividing it up into that different like design, marketing, targeting different people, and sort of trying to overall give different members different tasks to do.
That makes sense. So there's two groups in this course, this class.
Yes.
Yeah.
Working in competition to each other?
Yes.
This is great. Skip, you got to tell me about these things. I love watching this. Pitting your students against each other in combat. Coopetition, nice. It's probably better than my concept of pitting them together in combat. All the same group, the three of you?
No, just
They're
I.
the same.
Okay. Are you aware where the differences are yet? Have you kind of been able to see some of that?
It's sort of been a collaboration up to this point,
Okay.
sort of using each other to for the benefits. But I think soon we'll start seeing more competition.
So you get this project handed to you, and it's like, okay, we can kind of do it. You go out, you do research, and you mentioned walking the space. I assume that means going over and going through the mall and going through the area that you. For those who would be very familiar with the area, where in the mall would this potentially be?
Second story, sort of at the far end, away from the food court.
Okay, by kind of down towards where the old Sears would have been.
Yes.
Okay. What did you get out of that walkthrough? What inspiration came as you walked through what effectively I'm assuming was empty storefront?
So actually right now, those spaces have some like cubicles in them. They kind of look like offices right now. It is an office space.
Okay.
So somebody used that before. But I definitely think it was definitely interesting to see it as an office right now. There's two sides, so we have two spaces available. And with co-working spaces, sometimes you do have just like private offices, but then also you have like you have hot desks, you have conference rooms, a bunch of different spaces. So it was nice to kind of walk through the different spaces and see which side we think would be best for like more of like the open concept area or more of like the private offices and conference rooms. So yeah, I enjoyed walking through those spaces and kind of being able to brainstorm what we could do.
You used a term that people may not be familiar with, hot desk.
Hot desk is basically just there's like outlets there, but basically you can put like your desktop, you can put like a monitor, your laptop, but it just basically is a desk there that you have that'll have everything you need.
Thinking about this kind of project, what does it bring? And I want to kind of cycle people through, so I want to kind of leave everyone with this question. What does having a project like this help you do versus, and we talked a little bit beforehand, I used the example of there's going to be a lot of alumni who listen and remember, I took marketing and I did tests and more tests and tests. Or there's other programs. This is very project focused. What does that mean to each of you as far as it goes to your education?
I feel like this course in particular like kind of brings the real world job to you, because like in the job you're not doing tests, you're not doing any of that, you're not studying, you're hands on, you're doing research, you're conducting surveys, you're doing interviews, kind of like to gauge, like kind of like you're I was like a consultant. So like these things that like the old generation did kind of weren't really like successful, I would say. Like of course you gotta know your terminologies, but like past that it's about hands on, like providing results and getting the information out there. So I feel like this is more of a hands on thing, which is in marketing. It's probably the best thing you can have or ask for, because applied knowledge is better than you sitting back and just looking at it. You gotta apply it and you gotta do it yourself.
Yeah, for me, sort of when I prepare for a test, it's sort of cram everything in, and then right after the test, it's out the other year and on to the next thing. But with sort of projects like these, it's more hands-on, so it stays a lot longer for me than in a test. And being hands-on, running through, like, sort of building our own company, I guess you could say, is a lot more beneficial for me, at least.
I think with the hands-on experience, it's definitely really great. I am a creative person, and I think obviously I can show a lot more creativity through doing projects. And then by the end of the semester, we'll be able to have a project that we're very happy with. We'll be able to look back at it and hopefully see it one day actually happen. So I just think it's definitely great to have the hand-on experience over just doing exams.
Well, that's great. I want to thank all three of you for being our first volunteers. It took a little, for those who don't, just listening to this, we had to kind of pry people out of seats to come and talk. But thank you for participating so far. Let's get some other folks in to talk about their time in the class and some of the things that they've learned. While we're doing the switch out here, again, I want to kind of remind you of the upcoming stuff. The Tomahawks game I talked about. We have the Media, Music, and More a reunion coming up at the end of May. That's along with the alumni golf tournament. So you have the golf tournament on a Friday, end of May, and then you could go right into that reunion. You could do one. You could do both. The reunion has the opportunity to stay on campus. That's always very popular and a successful interest that people have. So those events are coming up. We're going to stay tuned. David does a great job with the alumni social media accounts and the university accounts. So keep an eye on those things as we move closer towards the end of this term in April and May for registration and the like. We have three brand new folks joining us on the show. Go through and introduce yourselves.
I'm Katie Gaskey. I'm a senior marketing major.
And I'm Ty Pitkins. I'm also a senior marketing major.
I'm Elizabeth Rayner. I'm also a senior marketing major.
We talked a little bit about this project already. What was your initial reaction to it when you learned this was going to be the project?
Well, first time our professor showed us the project, I was like, what the heck is this? I've never heard of co-working in my life. And through doing initial case studies and learning about other companies in Pittsburgh, I personally looked at some in Maryland. We got to learn and develop an understanding of the business throughout the beginning of this project.
That's an interesting idea. I never really thought about that this could be a project that is a business that somebody would never have bumped into. Mm-hmm. I've been tangentially involved with bits and pieces of something similar over the years, but that's never actually, that's an interesting perspective I hadn't thought about. How about
I was kind of in the same boat as Ty, that I had no idea what co-working was before Skip introduced the concept to us. So I think it was interesting to kind of research the background and history on co-working and how popular it has gotten since COVID especially.
I was in the same boat as the other two. I had no idea what co-working was. I heard a little bit from my past classmates in the fall semester, but nothing beyond that.
Group-wise, where does the groups break down for you three?
Ty and I are in the same group.
Okay.
And I'm in the other group that just went before.
All right, great. So, Coopetition. We're going to be nice about that. Same kind of concept. When you went through when you looked at the spot? Did you see potential? Did what stood out to you and said, "Oh, I can envision what this could be"?
So, like when the first time I saw it, I was like, "Wow, it's gonna need a lot of work." And then from there, we went back a second time, and we kind of had more of an understanding of what needed to happen. And from there, we were able to kind of imagine more of what we could do with the space. I spent a couple hours the other day and made a complete couple layouts that we could do for like a rough floor plan. But once you really start seeing what can be done with the space, granted they need a lot of work. They probably both need gutted and start from scratch. But once you start using your imagination a bit and start envisioning what this project could be, it kind of gets you excited and rolling into it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with him on that. When you first walk into one of the spaces, it has this like bright, like royal purple carpet in there. It definitely needs all gutted and just completely done.
That's the only part you're going to keep, right?
No. But it definitely needs gutted and definitely needs a whole redesign.
I think at first it was kind of more difficult for me to envision what was going to be happening with the space just because there's those cubicles that are currently there. So I think the second time we went back, it kind of helped open up that vision a little bit more and kind of seeing just the layout. And we used some technology to kind of sketch out some potential spaces that we would put different things in the co-working space.
We heard the concept about kind of tying into the theme of I'm going to call it the theme of the region. Although now I do want a cattle farm theme. That would be really fun and out of place. But what does that mean? How does that look in your plan? Have you gotten that far talking about that with your groups, or?
I think our group is kind of in the first stages of talking about design. We have a few ideas that we've kind of sketched out a little bit, but we haven't really gotten into, a color scheme or anything, or bringing in different materials yet. So we're kind of still in the beginning developing stages of that. And
we briefly, during other meetings, we mentioned the idea of we need to have the community involved with this. This can't just be a standalone thing. And we think with Pitt being associated and with a lot of alumni, we'll be able to create a good community around this place. Maddie, who was on before, she had a bunch of ideas on how we can include local work into the co-working space to inspire other people from the area, to whether it's a business or local artist or anything that we can showcase what Johnstown does best.
We were planning on doing the same thing. I was talking with one of my team members who unfortunately isn't here today, Kenzie, about including local businesses and artists to hopefully brighten up the area, and because there's not a lot of natural lighting in them. So we were looking through, trying to design to get more lighting into it, all the color scheme, and just have it more as an open space.
All have to be really exciting to kind of be able to see that. It's almost like a blank slate where you can kind of go in and look at everything and see. Think about, does your take match everyone else's with what this kind of having this kind of class and project means?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I mean, I'm not a good test taker, so I think this was kind of interesting to me that I got to apply some of the stuff that I've learned in my previous classes and actually get to utilize it before graduating and getting into the real world.
Yeah, same. It's the culmination of all the marketing classes we took since we were 18-year-old freshmen till now. And it's just nice to be able, especially I don't like taking tests. I don't like studying. I'd rather just do the work. And it's a good experience. And not to mention, if you keep the data, it's also good to show future employers, stuff like that, the work that you can do.
Mm-hmm. I definitely prefer more of the hands-on approach than taking the tests. I'm good at the tests, but I definitely prefer actually putting myself out into the field.
You were all marketing majors from day one?
Yep.
Well, I came here engineering.
Okay.
And then that got really boring really quick. So I switched to somewhere I could use a bit of creativity.
I was originally a biochemistry major all the way out at IUP, and then I came here for marketing.
And you were...
I was marketing from day one. Yep.
Since it is the alumni podcast, I always like to occasionally throw out there, and I think it'd be interesting to see when I ask the alumni this, active students, what made you come to UPJ?
I'm from around the area, so I'm from Ligonier, so I'm about 45 minutes from here. My dad came here, so I was familiar with the area and the school since I was young. So I think that was definitely a big draw for me, but I'm a homebody, so wanted to kind of be close to home, but also a little bit. Yep. So I want to be a little bit far away, but.
Do you remember his year? Do you want to put him on the spot?
Oh, gosh. I don't remember the year off the top of my head.
No, that's a really cool thing. That's why I like these stories.
So, I've always been. Well, I'm from Butler County, Pennsylvania, so just north of Pittsburgh, and my family's always been Pitt fans from the beginning. So I always had the mindset I wanted to go to Pitt, but I'm not a fan of the city. So I'm like, what's the best I can do? I came here to the country, similar to home, so I feel more comfortable here than down in Oakland.
Great. Yeah, though Penn State was not in your future.
No.
If you wanted to maintain any level of inheritance.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
I was born and raised here. I live down in Wimber, literally only 5 minutes away. I originally went to IUP, like I said, and then after a while I was like, I kind of want something a little more closer to home. So I decided on Pitt. I have family who went here. My cousin, I'm pretty sure she is also alum, graduated in 2023.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Well, we're getting close to graduation here for you all as well. So that's pretty exciting. I think we have one more group who hasn't talked yet. So we're going to do the cycle over. But thank you for at this point, it's not volunteering. The first group gets the credit for volunteering. But yeah, like I said, keep an eye on this stuff. One thing else you can do if you're a fan of the podcast, you've been enjoying these episodes. We've done a bunch of these. We have one coming up with the geosciences folks. We do a lot of these with education. Share it out on your social media. That really goes a long way for us to have the ability to kind of get some traction and share these things, because once we're done here, we're going to ask we're going to talk about where you can help all these fine folks out with their project. But before we do, let's meet who we have here now.
My name's Josh Streeter. I'm a senior marketing student here.
My name is Liam Straub. I'm also a senior marketing student here.
My name's Owen Shedlock. I'm also a senior marketing major.
Same kind of thing to start off with. What did you think when this project first came into your path?
I'd say it's a little overwhelming to pretty much build a business up from something that someone had an idea of one day, and now we got to bring it into motion and start it up within a semester. I think it's a little brutal, but we can get it done.
Yeah, I definitely thought that, I didn't know what a co-working space was. So over the course of the semester, we've kind of did those case studies, and I've gotten to learn what a co-working space is, and I think it's going to be a really good idea, and I think that there's remote workers in the area who will definitely take advantage of the space that we're going to create.
Yeah, similar to what other people said, going into this, I really had no idea what a co-working space was, and it's almost kind of inspiring, once we understand what it is and kind of have that common goal, end goal set, just to keep you pushing forward, and it's really cool to see the progress, even on these early stages of what we're building to do.
What was the walkthrough like for you? Before we get to there, do the group question. Who's in what group?
We're actually on the same group.
Oh, all three of you
Yeah.
together. All right. So now spend the next 4 minutes talking smack to the other group. Now I say I'm not going to be able to get them to fight each other, Skip. I'm sorry. No. What was the walkthrough like for each of you? Different perspective, different people. You see different things that other people had. What was it like to go through this potential space?
So I'm a very visual learner, so when Skip's showing us outlines and blueprints of the building, it's kind of hard for me to imagine that. So getting my feet in the space, looking around at the walls, okay, I can put this here, there's this much length here between the door. That's really where I strive, is visual learning. So I could really picture what everything and where everything could be.
That really helped it click.
So I think Beth from the other group, she definitely highlighted the purple flooring that I first saw when we first went, and I definitely
You're not a fan of it either.
No, it definitely needs taken out. It needs gutted, but it is office space as it was from the people who owned it before we got it, and you can kind of see like we have the vision. It can definitely come together. It just needs a little bit of work.
Yeah, going into it, like Josh said, like it's one thing to see the blueprints or just hear it's this many square feet. Like it's one thing to hear it, but it's another to actually see it and actually going into the space and seeing, what it looked like exactly, or the space in between, walking between them, or the space behind. It was just interesting to see, and we've been back there since, and even every time you've went since that first time, you've had more ideas, or it sparked more of what potential it could have, or what we could do going forward.
What do you think the potential is for something like this? And I know we're going to talk a little bit about the survey and so forth, but just based on the research, do you see? Do you have a hopeful outlook for the potential? Do you think there's going to be more than just office space?
I feel like in this area, the market's really untapped. Like the variety and limits are endless. We can pull from so many different areas that it could be so useful to so many people, not only students, alumni, but also people that have grown up here since the day they were born. So I think you can pull from anywhere here in Johnstown.
Yeah, I think Josh kind of hit that on the mark. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot of people in the area who I've talked to coworkers that I work for, and they've even said that a remote space like that where they can kind of come in and get some work done and meet with clients, like they definitely use that. So, yeah.
And then not just on the co-working space, just as we've some other people have said, just the idea of the community in general. Like obviously the malls are kind of going away, but if this co-working space is going and thriving, maybe it'll make you, go to the food court, get some food, maybe shop around. So I think this is something that we can all help each other grow together, help the mall, and then the mall help us, and kind of build from there.
Was that part of the research that anyone come across, and maybe even out to the wider group, if it's applicable, the idea that you do have those kind of, because I've seen some places around the United States where malls do, we're half mall, half medical complex, or half mall, half senior apartments, or some kind of. Did anyone come across any of that in the research as part of a study? No, it's all right. I was just kind of curious because it is a weird trend that I think fits exactly what you were saying, is the idea that you end up with a built-in audience for the rest of the services that the mall provides, food and shopping and those sorts of things. What made you want to do marketing as a major?
So I actually started out undecided when I came here, switched to education, found out that's just not for me. I couldn't do that. And then I was looking at different business. I always was between business and education, and I always liked like social media and creativity and stuff like that. So marketing was kind of my golden child where I could choose from. So
Nice.
I also came in undecided. I started taking classes, and immediately I knew that, I wanted to be more creative. I didn't want to get into any of the STEM majors, and I really like business. Both my parents are business people, and I enjoyed social media a lot. I enjoy making ads and being creative in that way. And originally I was going to be psychology, and then I figured out that I didn't really like the science end of psychology, and so I kind of thought that I could use my knowledge in psychology to market to people, and by knowing people in that way. So yeah,
Makes sense.
Yeah, I was pretty much in the same boat. I like the aspect of being able to be creative, be myself. Obviously, coming in, you have to take kind of all the core business courses, and even from that first freshman year, marketing just really seemed to click over all the other ones to me, and I just like that aspect of being creative, being myself, kind of being able to make things, do things.
That sounds really nice. That when you find that thing, and I had that happen when I was a student too. You just click into that, and you just kind of know. And I think a lot of alumni are going to hear that and say, "Oh, that was me." and maybe they tried different things, or it's not an uncommon situation. Let's put it that way. One of the big things that we wanted to accomplish today was not only just to get this really cool story out there and talk about these projects, because I think this just highlights all the amazing things that go into what makes us such a cool campus and such an amazing part of this system and why I love being here. But you actually all have come to ask my audience for help. What can we do to help you all? Does anyone want to? Who wants to volunteer to talk about the survey? This is the awkward part in the classroom for those of you who can't see, that are like trying to oh, who's going to make me talk? Okay, come on back up. Thank you very much for taking some time here. This is the kind of project that we talk about where alumni can make a big difference, and we're going to hear why in a second. But throughout the university, there's these kind of projects where you can help, whether that's and we talk about it time and time again. It's not just necessarily, hey, can you give us a donation? We like a donation, but it's also time. I say it time and time again: time, talent, and treasure. This is your yes, David and the institutional advancement, they would like your treasure. That goes a long way to scholarships and but time and talent, talking to students, helping out with these sorts of projects become very, very important. Talk about the survey.
So we created a survey, and the survey is definitely targeted. Basically, we want to hear from alumni. We want to know what they could see being the best use of a co-working space, what they would use most. And then also just a little bit about, the Johnstown area and how often they visit the Galleria, all of that kind of thing. But yeah, it was sent out to basically alumni, and we centered it in Latrobe, and then it went, I believe, 65 miles. There was a 65-mile radius, so we were able to hit all of Pittsburgh. Obviously, it went to Johnstown as well. But basically, we just wanted to see in the area what those alumni thought would be best in a co-working space.
What kind of questions are in the survey?
There's all kinds of different questions, but there's questions basically about what kind of seats they would most want, like what kind of spaces they would use most, whether that be, again, like that hot desk, if they would want more of like a private office space. There's also questions about just what they do, so like their career, and then also if they have a side business, because a lot of the times co-working spaces could be used for like a side business, whether that be, there's a question also that asks if they would want to use the space in the morning, early morning, like before they would go to their actual job, or before or after work, anything like that. But yeah, I mean, basically just what we can do to make sure our space is going to be used by alumni, by students, and everybody in the area. We just want to make sure that it fits the mold that they could use.
It's a really great survey. I've taken it. I got a little sidetracked when the other amenities came up. It was like cornhole, and I'm like, "This is an interesting thing for
we
our
want it
office,
to be
right?
fun.
We could be doing that during division meetings." But a lot of neat ideas. If you haven't gotten their email and you're in that radius, that means your email probably isn't updated with the system. That's where you have to get a hold of David, and his email's in the description, because, hey, your email changed. You never updated the campus. No big deal. But it doesn't mean you can't participate, because I'm going to have the link in the description of this podcast, so you can click there. How long do they have to take it?
We are presenting this research, I believe, next Thursday. Yeah, but it'll be open, so obviously we will take anything we can get. Our final presentation will be able to use that research as well. So the first presentation is this upcoming Thursday.
The sooner the better.
Yes,
but
yes.
You have a couple weeks if you are running a little late behind on listening to the shows. So I want to thank you all for coming out and spending time with me here today, and hopefully this wasn't too scary for everyone. How do we do? All right. And I certainly want to thank you for listening to another episode of the Tuck Shop Podcast. Make sure you download, make sure you share, and more importantly, this week than ever before, make sure you take their survey. These are great great students and great part of soon to be the UPJ alumni family. So we want to help them out. Until next week, I want you all to have an amazing week, and we'll see you later. The Tuck Shop podcast is recorded live on the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown campus. Update your contact information with us by visiting johnstown.pitt.edu/alumni. Connect with us online via Facebook and LinkedIn, or consider donating to the university at give2, that's giveto.pitt.edu/giveupj.
This has been a production of Quantum Wave Media. Views expressed do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown.